So I'm here at Bleecker Trading with Daryl Gardner, also known as Dr. Collectible. You know, you're like, inspirational figure in the collectible space. And I was reading about you, and like I guess you grew up in East St. Louis, which is an area very near and dear to my heart. I got family there. Like, I used to go there as a kid. And one of the things and stuff, everything I know about that area is that, it's ravaged by guns and violence. What was it like growing up there?
Oh man, you're talking about literally the murder capital of the United States. About 3 hours away from Chicago. Growing up in that area, it was rough. I can personally count on my 10 hands or more, 10 fingers or more that people that have passed away from me even growing up with their friends and things of that nature. So it was always hard, but I always stayed focused. I played sports. I was in after-school programs. I sung in the church choir. I also danced. So I was always productive, and also collecting was one of the few things that also kept me off the streets, and something that me and my dad was able to cherish as well. So growing up, yeah, you're right. It's definitely rough coming from that area.
Most definitely. And the great thing about though East St. Louis is it's still there's a wonderful community. There's a lot of notable people that have come from that area. I think of people like Weedy Brema, the Grammy-nominated djembe player,
Yep.
Darius Miles, former NBA basketball player, Jackie Joyner Kersey.
Yes.
How inspirational was it like that? Having people who came from an area that's not that large, but reached such great heights of success.
When you're talking about having people like that and being able to see that, not only seeing it come from your backyard, it makes you want to be great. It makes you want to do something with your life that other just know anything from East St. Louis. Seeing them progress, looking at someone like Darius Miles, I watched him when I was in the 6th grade. Another guy too from Peoria, Illinois, Chris, what's his name? Livingston. He also played as well. So just seeing them in the area, like I say, growing up, knowing that, hey, I could possibly do that one day, or I could be great at something one day. That brings a lot to the community when there's not a lot going on, especially when you have, drugs and violence and things of that nature that kind of takes over the streets. So to have that was a blessing. I personally went to the Jackie Joyner Kersey Center growing up. That was one of them programs that I attended. So someone like her in the place that I'm in today, I can't do nothing but thank her and that community.
Most definitely. And I was reading that a house fire was actually responsible for getting you into collecting. Can you talk about what happened, and how that led to you starting collecting?
Yeah, so that kind of led to me going into a situation where, I was in my car for about 2 weeks and was looking to try to get me a place to stay. And at that time, to get back on my feet, a lot of people don't know this, I moved to Atlanta, and I want to say for the past 7-8 years, my dad would send me sports cards, and it would be my Kobe Bryant cards that I would collect as a child. And those same cards I ended up selling and helped getting back on my feet. And also had sold my Xbox Series X, things of that nature. I went full in on sports cards and doing content, and that would help me out to get out of my slumber. Just thinking about that and seeing where I am now, it's okay, sports cards took me out of a struggle that I was in, and all I do is try to appreciate the moment, but also I give back by doing content, talk highly about the hobby, the great things that's about it. So for me, seeing that 4 to 5 years ago and seeing where I'm at now, that turned me into a better person because I never really went through something like that.
Right, and it's paying off. You collaborated with Fanatics Live. Can you talk about that? How that came about?
Yeah, so I reached out to Fanatics Live, and I was letting them know, hey, I do content, things of that nature. This is what I do in a hobby. And I want to say months later, they reached out to me. It was after the National when I tried to reach out to them, and I ended up getting a response, and they was like, hey, let's possibly see if we can do content. And it kind of worked out because I was already on the platform. I love the platform as well, and then on top of that, I'm a fan of Fanatics. So I'm like, let me try to find a home for myself. Is what I call it. I want to find a home for myself in a hobby and be able to work with, cool and dope businesses as well. So it worked out well, and I started like around, I want to say, started really doing promotions and creating content, things of that nature around like November, and it's been a blast so far.
Most definitely. And you also like are a brand ambassador for National?
Yeah. So I would consider like what I call a media ambassador. It's a term that I made for myself.
Okay.
I try to steer away from the word influencer. I'm not here to influence people and make their decisions. I want to expose the hobby and let people make decisions on their own about the hobby. So where you feel comfortable. But with that, decided to become a media ambassador. Got a partnership with them, and I create content at the National, do great interviews, and basically expose the National. Like I said, 4 years ago, I was watching everybody, make hobby content at home, trying to figure out how I'm gonna get to the National. And shout out to Ray Schulte. He reached out to me, seeing my work ethic and what I was able to do, and I brought what I done on my platform, as you can see, to their platform. So we started something called the Road to the National, which will be coming soon, where I go across the country to go to different car shows, shops, trade shows, and help promote the National to a large base of audience. And had them to come to Cleveland this year. We're gonna be turned up, man.
You talked about when you first started out collecting sports cars, but you also collect NFTs, VHS. What are the collectibles that are pulling your interest right now? And
So right now, everything. I'm in love with, video games. Everything that I have video game wise is vintage. Super Nintendo, Sega Game Gear, Game Boy, Game Boy Advance. We can go up to PlayStation 2, Xbox. I pretty much have a lot of video games. When it comes to VHS, my uncle, he has a lot of tapes, VHS, sealed stuff. I have a lot of that stuff in my storage area where I keep a lot of my collectibles. Not only that, I am into NFTs. I like that digital aspect, being able to own something. And a lot of people have got in, gotten out, but for me, it's all about what I collect. So I do all types of stuff, memorabilia, sports cars, Pokemon. I haven't got into like Magic the Gathering or anything like that, but there's always room for opening when it comes to collecting. Like I tell people, if Jay Leno has close to a $3 billion car collection, then why can anyone in a hobby collect whatever they want?
most definitely, man. I think sometimes it's about expanding your horizons and things that you wouldn't even think you enjoy. I read the Game of Thrones books just because I was bored. I really got into Game of Thrones. I love George R.R. Martin now. What would be your advice to people who are interested in or just getting started with the hobby?
Collect what you love, collect what you want. That way, you will always be happy. I still have my first Harry Potter book that I read when I was young.
Yeah, Harry Potter is cool.
Yeah, I remember buying that with my own money, or buying that, that book of Rugrats or that nature when I was in the 3rd grade, because I watched the movie and I had that that orange VHS that they had came out with the movie. Collect the items like that. Collect what you want. Collect what you love. You will always be happy, and just enjoy the process of it. Hopefully you can pass them items down to your kids, your grandkids one day. Or, hopefully at the end of the day, it just bring a smile to your face to look back and look back at your childhood.
Man, Dr. Collectible, man, I want to thank you for taking the time.
Yes.
I really like what you're doing, man, in the space, and you're committed. I learned about you from Prism God, man. Shout out to him, and what I mean.
Coach Collision.
Yeah.
Shout out to Team Easton. I did a charity basketball game with them, and with Team C Blast, we ended up winning. So shout out to Team Easton Foundation. and what they do. You know, I decided to wear their product tonight. It meant a lot to me because growing up, a lot of people don't know I used to be a bus monitor for special ed students and also kids with autism. So, and that was in the city of East St. Louis, District 189. So about 4 years during college days, we'll go to college during the day and be a bus monitor by morning and afternoon. So,
Man, Dr. Collectible, you're a beacon of light. Thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate you.
thank you.
You're welcome.